The Galactic Council Station hung in the void like a jewel in the dark. Its golden rings glimmered under the light of a nearby star, and its enormous silver towers reached out into space like proud monuments to alien unity. Inside the vast council chamber buzzed with life, voices of dozens of alien races echoing in a symphony of strange tones. Some hissed, some clicked, some spoke in deep, vibrating growls. This was the center of power in the galaxy. This was where decisions about war, peace, and trade were made. And today, humanity was going to speak here for the first time. Captain Aaron Holt stepped onto the polished floor of the chamber, his boots echoing faintly. He was a tall man with sharp features and eyes that scanned the room like a predator studying unfamiliar ground. Around him, the chamber's seats rose in tiers, each occupied by representatives of alien worlds. Some were massive and reptilian, their scaled skin gleaming. Others were small and insect-like, their antennae twitching. Many wore rich robes or shimmering armor. Holt kept his posture straight. He knew they didn't respect him. But this was humanity's chance. Their first step into the great stage of galactic politics. A deep, commanding voice boomed across the hall. It belonged to High Chancellor Virel, a towering feathered alien whose golden eyes shone with authority. Representatives of the Council, Virel declared, today we welcome the species known as humans from the world called. The announcement was met with murmurs, some curious, some dismissive. Holt walked to the center podium. A single microphone-like device rose up to meet him, translating his words into hundreds of alien languages. He opened his mouth to speak, but the Chancellor's next words cut through him like a blade. Before we begin, Virel said, his tone carrying an edge of amusement, let us take a moment to understand these newcomers, so that the Council may better judge their place among civilized worlds. With a wave of his feathered hand, a massive hologram flared to life above the chamber. The image showed a lush blue and green world. Earth. At first, Holt thought it was meant to honor humanity. Then, the images changed. The hologram zoomed in on a lion chasing a zebra across the plains. The lion caught it, and the brutal kill played out in slow detail. Laughter erupted from some alien seats. Then came footage of a hurricane ripping through a city, waves flooding streets, screams, destruction. Next, close-up shots of venomous snakes, crocodiles snapping their jaws, volcanoes erupting. Even microscopic images of deadly bacteria, magnified so they looked like monsters. The narration began, not in English, but in the Council's common language. The translator in Holt's ear whispered the words, Earth, a death world. An environment so hostile, it is a miracle any life survives. A planet where the inhabitants evolved, surrounded by violence, starvation, and chaos. A world that breeds savagery. Not civilization. The chamber erupted in laughter. Holt's jaw tightened. The Chancellor smiled faintly and continued, and yet, somehow, these primitive creatures have learned to leave their planet. They have come to us without even the wisdom to know they are out of their depth. Another wave of mocking laughter filled the room. An alien delegate from the Zither race, insect-like with glittering eyes, leaned forward and spoke. I hear they still fight wars with each other, even now. A hulking reptilian representative joined in. They waste resources to send fragile ships into space and call themselves explorers. One by one, alien leaders tossed insults like spears. They eat meat raw. They live barely a century before they rot. They think firearms are advanced weapons. Every word was a cut, every laugh an open wound. Holt's knuckles turned white around the podium edge. Then the worst part came. The hologram shifted again, showing humans in old historical footage. Swords, shields, muskets. Wars, slavery, riots. The narration's voice grew. Mocking. Here they are, the mighty Deathworlders. Their only talent, killing each other in creative ways. The audience roared with amusement. It was no longer a diplomatic gathering. It was a comedy show, and humanity was the joke. Holt didn't move. He didn't yell. He didn't storm out. He just stood there, letting the storm of mockery wash over him. On the surface, he looked calm. Inside, something was burning hotter than any sun. Finally, Chancellor Varel spoke again, pretending to be gracious. "Now, human, you may speak if you still wish." Holt stepped forward. His voice was steady, but every word carried steel. "I thank the Council for this welcome." A few chuckles. He continued, "I have seen the images you showed. The storms, the predators, the disasters, the wars." He paused, scanning the room, letting his eyes meet alien after alien. "You laugh because you think these things make us weak. But every storm, every predator, every war shaped us. Every danger you showed, we survived it. And because of that, we're still here." Some aliens shifted uncomfortably. Others smirked, thinking he was bluffing. Holt didn't care. He finished with quiet, cutting precision. "You call us Deathworlders. One day, you'll remember what that means." He turned and walked out without waiting for permission. Back on Earth, the stars streaked past outside the shuttle's window as Holt sat in silence. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Caravance, finally spoke. "You could have fought back in there. Why didn't you?" Holt's gaze stayed on the stars. "Because words don't matter to them. They only respect power. And right now, they think we have none." He turned to her, his eyes hard. "We're going to change that." 2 days later, in a secure underground base somewhere beneath the Rocky Mountains, the most powerful leaders of Earth gathered in a steel-walled conference room. Generals, scientists, engineers, and colony governors sat around a long table. Holt stood at the head. "They mocked us. They called us Deathworlders like it was an insult," he began. "But they're right about one thing. We are from a death world. We grew up in a place where everything tries to kill you, and we adapted. That's something they'll never understand until we show them." He tapped a button, and a large screen lit up behind him. 2 words appeared in bold letters. "Project Iron Fist." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. "What's Iron Fist?" someone asked. Holt smiled faintly. "It's how we're going to make the galaxy stop laughing." He laid out the plan. Train humans to fight in the harshest environments imaginable. Deep oceans, volcanic zones, frozen wastelands, toxic jungles. Build weapons not just from alien technology, but by improving it with human creativity and unpredictability. Recruit from Earth's most dangerous professions: soldiers, firefighters, divers, mountaineers, cave explorers, stunt pilots. Test every recruit against conditions that would kill most aliens within minutes. "This won't be easy," Holt warned. "Some of us will die. But if we succeed, the galaxy will never forget who we are." The room fell silent. Then one by one, heads nodded. That night, Holt stood alone in the base's observation deck, looking out at the cold, endless stars. He thought of the council chamber, the laughter, the insults. He thought of every human who had bled, fought, and died just to survive on Earth. They had called humanity a joke. Now they would learn the punchline. Holt sent a single coded message to every human colony and military station across space. It contained only 4 words: "Prepare for Iron Fist." The mountain base was alive with movement. The cold air outside was still and silent, but deep underground, the sound of drills, hammering, and heavy footsteps filled the steel corridors. From above, no one could guess what was happening beneath. The snow-covered peaks, but inside, humanity was preparing for war. Captain Aaron Holt stood at a balcony inside the base, looking down at the massive training hall. Men and women in different uniforms, soldiers, divers, mountaineers, engineers, were pushing their bodies to the limit. Some crawled under barbed wire with simulated gunfire above their heads. Others ran in heavy armor while carrying loads, twice their weight. At one end, a group in bulky diving suits was being lowered into a giant tank filled with freezing water. Lieutenant Kara Vance joined him, carrying a datapad. "Recruitment numbers are in," she said. "We've pulled in volunteers from every colony. Some of them aren't even military." "That's good," Holt replied without looking away. "We don't just need soldiers, we need survivors." Training the Deathworlders, Project Iron Fist, wasn't about making humans equal to the galaxy's armies. It was about making them scarier. The first step: break every recruit's limits. The training grounds were split into 5 deadly zones, each modeled after Earth's harshest environments. The Inferno Zone, blistering heat, fire hazards, and molten rock simulations. Recruits carried equipment through tunnels where the air shimmered with heat. The Ice Zone, temperatures below freezing, snowstorms generated by massive fans, and ice-covered obstacle courses. The Abyss Zone, deep water tanks simulated, high-pressure chambers, and blackout diving drills. The Toxic Zone, poisonous gas simulations, chemical hazard drills, and survival in zero-oxygen environments. The Predator Zone, dense jungle simulations filled with drones programmed to stalk and attack silently. Some recruits collapsed, some tapped out after only a day. But others, the ones Holt called true Deathworlders, adapted. They learned to keep moving in unbearable heat. They learned to hold their breath longer than most species could survive without air. They learned to stay calm when invisible drones struck from the dark. Holt walked among them daily, his sharp eyes studying every face. When one man stumbled during a fire drill, Holt simply said, "On your feet. The galaxy won't wait for you to catch your breath." The workshop of nightmares. While soldiers trained, engineers worked in hidden labs under heavy security. Alien technology stolen from black markets and battlefields was spread across workbenches: plasma rifles, energy shields, navigation chips. But humans didn't copy them exactly. They modified them. A plasma rifle that could only fire in short bursts was rebuilt to fire longer without overheating. An alien shield generator, designed to block energy weapons, was reconfigured to block both energy and physical projectiles. A starship engine was adjusted for sudden, unpredictable speed boosts, something alien pilots found dangerous, but humans found thrilling. Chief Engineer Mason Reed grinned as he tested a handheld railgun. "They think we're behind in tech," he said to Kara. "But you give a human a broken weapon, we'll find a way to make it worse for the enemy." Whispers in the galaxy. The galaxy didn't know the details of Project Iron Fist, but it was starting to notice that alien merchants reported that human miners and workers were vanishing from colonies without explanation. Spy networks whispered that Earth was building something in secret. The Varkash Empire, known for its efficient intelligence network, sent 2 scout ships toward Earth to investigate. Neither ship returned. In the Galactic Council chamber, suspicion began to grow. Chancellor Virel ordered quiet surveillance, not wanting to risk a public scandal yet. "They're only humans," he told the council. "Whatever they're doing, it will fail. But we'll watch them." Testing the Deathworlders weeks turned into months. The recruits were no longer the same people who had first walked into the mountain base. They moved with confidence, their eyes sharper, their bodies hardened. Now Holt began the field tests. 1 team was dropped into the middle of a frozen alien moon with only basic gear. Their mission: survive for 10 days without contact. Another team was placed in a simulated asteroid mining accident. The entire station's gravity was disabled, and fires were started in multiple sections. A third team was given a live capture mission: sneak into a guarded alien outpost on the edges of human space and steal a data core. All 3 missions succeeded. The survival team returned with supplies to spare. The zero-gravity fire drill ended. With every victim rescued, the infiltration team, they returned with not just the data core, but with the alien commander's personal trophy collection. Just for fun, Kara couldn't hide her smile when she read the reports. "They're ready," she told Holt. "Not yet," Holt replied. He looked at the star map on the wall, dozens of alien territories glowing in different colors. "Ready isn't enough. We need them." Perfect. The final test, the Black Zone. Holt created one last training ground, the most dangerous yet. It was called the Black Zone, and only the best recruits were allowed to enter. The Black Zone was a giant dome of shifting environments. At one moment, it was a desert with a sandstorm. The next, it was a swamp filled with ankle-deep mud. Then, freezing snow and blinding wind. But the environment wasn't the worst part. Inside the Black Zone were hunter drones, AI-controlled machines, programmed to track, flank, and eliminate targets with brutal efficiency. They didn't stop. They didn't hesitate. They didn't care about pain. Recruits were given one order: survive for 48 hours. The Black Zone broke almost everyone. Some recruits lasted a few hours before being killed in the simulation. A handful made it to the final day. One group, led by Sergeant Juno Ricks, managed to outsmart the drones by setting traps in the swamp section, then luring the machines into deep water where their systems shorted. Another group used the snowstorm to mask their heat signatures, moving like ghosts until extraction time. When the survivors stumbled out of the dome, Holt was waiting. "You've done more than survive," he told them. "You've become something. The galaxy doesn't have a word for yet, but soon they will." Iron Fist unleashed with training complete. The next phase began: deployment. Teams of Deathworlder operatives were quietly sent to human colonies near alien borders. They didn't attack first, they waited. When pirate raiders targeted a small mining outpost, the Deathworlders struck. When alien slavers tried to capture a transport ship, the Deathworlders boarded and took it back. The results were the same each time. The enemy was defeated in shockingly short time. Survivors told stories of humans moving like shadows, striking with deadly precision. No one ever saw them coming twice. The first big rumor one night, in a crowded alien spaceport. A Varkash trader whispered to his crew, "I heard about the pirate fleet that attacked the human colony on Shale 3. They sent 30 ships. Only 2 made it back, and those 2. They say the crews are still screaming in their sleep." No one knew if it was true. But the story spread like fire. The unwanted attention, not everyone laughed at humans anymore. Some alien mercenaries started avoiding human territories entirely. Others, curious or desperate, began offering humans jobs as bodyguards or escorts. But in the high towers of the Galactic Council Station, Chancellor Varel was watching closely. "They're getting bolder," he said to his advisors. "Let them," one of them replied. "The more they show themselves, the easier it will be to crush them." Varel's golden eyes narrowed. "No, we'll provoke them. And when they react, we'll make the entire galaxy see them as a threat that must be eliminated." The cliffhanger in the cold darkness of deep space. A small human reconnaissance ship drifted silently near the edge of alien territory. Inside, Lieutenant Kara Vance studied her sensors. She frowned. "Captain, I'm detecting movement, big movement." Holt stepped up beside her. On the screen, hundreds of red markers appeared. A massive alien fleet, moving toward human space. Holt's face was unreadable. "They're coming," he said quietly. "Good," he added after a pause. "Let's show them what Deathworlders can do." The stars over Shale 3 colony were calm and bright, giving no warning of the storm that was coming. It was a quiet mining settlement on the edge of human space, a cluster of domed habitats on the rocky surface, with ore processing towers reaching toward the sky like steel fingers. Families were eating dinner. Children played in the indoor parks. No one knew that an alien fleet was already on its way. Captain Aaron Holt stood inside the colony's control tower, looking at the tactical screen. Beside him, Lieutenant Kara Vance was focused on the radar. "Still nothing?" Holt asked. Kara's fingers moved quickly over the console. Nothing new. But the last deep-range scan picked up multiple signatures. "They're holding back. Just outside sensor range. Probably cloaked until they're close." Holt's eyes narrowed. "They want a surprise attack," he said. He turned toward the comms officer. "Send the signal." Code red. Iron Fist deployment. Deep inside the colony, hidden in old mining tunnels, the Deathworlders squads were waiting. Men and women in black combat armor stood ready, their faces calm but their eyes sharp. Some checked weapons, railguns, modified plasma rifles, shock blades. Others adjusted their armor's adaptive camouflage systems, which shimmered faintly. Before blending into the rock walls, Sergeant Juno Ricks stood with his squad near the tunnel entrance. "Remember," he told them, "these aliens think we're soft targets. Let's prove them wrong." The enemy arrives in the cold void above Shale 3, space rippled. One by one, alien ships appeared, shimmering into view as their cloaks failed. They were the Varkesh Raiders, long jagged ships painted in dark crimson, their hulls covered with rows of weapon ports. The fleet leader, Commander Zarek, stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was tall and armored in black plates, his reptilian eyes glinting with hunger for battle. "Target the human colony," Zarek ordered. "Destroy defenses, take survivors as slaves. Leave nothing standing." Dozens of attack craft broke away from the main ships and began their descent toward the surface. The trap is set. The colony's outer defense turrets opened fire, rapid bursts of railgun rounds streaking toward the alien craft. Several attackers were hit, their ships breaking apart in bright explosions. But more slipped through, heading straight for the landing zones. Inside the tunnels, Holt's voice came through every squad's comms. "Hold your fire until they're committed. Then, make them regret it." The alien troops hit the ground. In a storm of dust and noise, dozens of armored Varkesh soldiers poured out, weapons blazing, cutting down automated defenses. They expected the humans to panic and run. Instead, nothing. Confused, the Varkesh pushed forward, entering the outer sections of the colony. That's when the first trap was sprung. Explosive charges hidden in the walls detonated, collapsing a corridor and burying the front line of the alien force. Before the rest could react, shadows moved among them, human soldiers in adaptive armor, striking from the dust and smoke. Shots rang out. Aliens fell. Some tried to fight back, but the Deathworlders were already gone. Fading back into cover. Close quarters combat. Sergeant Juno Ricks's squad hit the second alien wave hard. One soldier, Mara Diaz, leapt from a maintenance shaft above, landing on a Varkesh trooper and driving a shock blade through his armor. Another, Ko Varan, used a modified plasma rifle to fire around corners, forcing the aliens into crossfire zones. The Varkesh fought back with heavy weapons, blasting holes in walls and sending debris flying. A grenade rolled toward Ricks. Without hesitation, he kicked it back down the corridor. The explosion took out 3 enemies. The battle above, while ground forces clashed, the sky burned with ship-to-ship combat. Hidden in the asteroid belt around Shale 3, small human gunships powered up and broke formation, attacking the alien fleet from behind. The Varkesh were caught off guard. They hadn't expected any resistance in space. The human ships weren't as big or as well armed, but they were faster, darting between the larger vessels and targeting weak points. When a Varkesh destroyer tried to lock weapons on one, the gunship's pilot spun into a dense asteroid cluster, vanishing from sensors. Moments later, railgun fire erupted from the rocks, tearing into the destroyer's engines, turning the tide back on the surface. Holt moved with the frontline squads. His railgun barked, each shot punching through alien armor. Caravans directed squads from the control tower, calling out enemy positions and coordinating ambushes. Squad 3, flank them at Junction C, she ordered. Squad 5, gas. Trap in Sector 2, now. From vents along the ceiling, thick smoke poured out. It wasn't lethal, but it was engineered to burn alien eyes and lungs. The Varkish stumbled and choked, easy targets for waiting Deathworlders. Commander Zerok's fury grew with every report. They're just humans, he snarled. How are they? A sudden explosion rocked his ship. Commander. Human boarding. Party in engineering. Zarok's claws dug into the armrest of his command chair. They dare board my ship? The bold move inside the flagship's engineering bay. A small human team fought like demons. They had used a gunship to pierce the hull, then sealed the breach with portable shields. Now they planted charges along the main reactor lines. Timers set, one said. Let's go, another replied. They didn't even try to escape. The ship, instead, they fought their way upward, drawing alien forces away from the charges. Minutes later, the reactor blew. The flagship shuddered and went dark. Commander Zurek barely made it to an escape pod before the entire ship was swallowed in fire. The retreat with their leader gone and their forces shattered, the Varkish began pulling back. But the Deathworlders didn't give them a clean exit. Human gunships harassed the retreating ships all the way to the edge of the system, crippling stragglers and forcing them to abandon wrecked vessels. When the last alien ship jumped to faster than light travel, the battlefield was silent except for the crackle of fires and the distant rumble of collapsing structures. Aftermath in the control tower. Kara finally exhaled. We did it, she said quietly. Holt didn't smile. We held them off, he corrected. But they'll be back, and next time. They won't underestimate us. The galaxy reacts. Within days, word of the battle spread across the galaxy. Alien merchants whispered of a human colony that had faced a full Varkish fleet and survived. Some claimed the humans had monsters on their side. Others swore the Deathworlders could turn invisible in the council chambers. Chancellor Virel listened to the reports with a frown. This was supposed to be an easy victory for the Varkish, he said. An aide replied nervously, it seems the humans are not what we thought. Virel's eyes hardened. Then we'll show them what the galaxy does to threats. Holtz promised that night, as the survivors of Shale 3 gathered to repair the colony. Holt stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars. He thought of the men and women who had fallen in the battle. He thought of the laughter in the council chamber months ago. They wanted to see what Deathworlders could do. He murmured. He looked toward the dark stretch of space where the Varkish fleet had fled. They've only seen the beginning. The news of Shale 3 spread like wildfire. From the smallest trade stations to the grand halls of alien empires, the same story was told again and again. A human colony stood against a Varkish fleet. And one. At first, many alien leaders dismissed the reports as exaggerated. But then came the proof. Footage of burning Varkish ships drifting in space. Images of Deathworlder soldiers standing among the ruins, their black armor streaked with dust and blood. The galaxy's laughter had gone quiet. In the mountain base on Earth, Captain Aaron Holt stood in front of a large tactical screen. Red dots marked alien strongholds along the borders of human space. Blue dots showed human colonies, and now new Iron Fist outposts. They're still probing our defenses, said Lieutenant Caravans. Pirate crews, small mercenary teams, even hired assassins. All testing us, all failing. Holt studied the map. They thought Shale 3 was luck, he said. We'll show them it wasn't. Striking back, the Deathworlders stopped waiting for the enemy to come to them. Instead, they began offensive missions deep into alien space. The first target was a pirate haven in the asteroid field of Veronine. For years, the place had been a safe zone for raiders who attacked human convoys. No fleet had ever been able to take it. The maze of asteroids made it too dangerous. The Deathworlders went in silently. Small, heavily armored gunships slipped through the rocks, guided by pilots trained in Earth's deadliest storm zones. They landed inside the hollowed-out main asteroid and attacked from within, catching the pirates off guard. The battle was short and brutal. When it was over, the pirate leader was in chains, and the Haven's weapons were melted down into scrap. Next came Operation Cold Fang, the rescue of a kidnapped science team from the frozen moon. Jareth 6. The kidnappers were mercenaries from the Krill Syndicate, known for killing hostages if rescue attempts failed. The Deathworlders didn't negotiate. They landed during a blizzard, their armor heating systems allowing them to move through the ice storm while the Krill struggled to see. By the time the Syndicate's leader realized they were under attack, the hostages were already gone, spirited away through hidden tunnels carved in the ice. The galaxy watches every successful mission added to the growing legend. Alien merchants began whispering warnings to each other. Don't cross the humans. They fight like predators. On some worlds, children played a new game. One pretended to be a Deathworlder. The others pretended to be aliens running away. On others, alien governments quietly moved their fleets further from human borders. But not everyone was afraid. Some were angry. Some wanted revenge. The challenge in the war hall of the Dravik Dominion, Warlord Cordal slammed his clawed fist onto the stone table. He was huge, covered in dark red scales, with horns curling back from his head. They talk of these humans as if they are warriors worthy of respect, he snarled. I will prove otherwise. I challenged their leader to single combat. Before the eyes of the galaxy, the message was sent. The entire galaxy heard it. Captain Aaron Holt, Cordal's deep voice growled through every public channel. Face me in battle. If you win, the Dravik will never attack your people again. If you lose, humanity bows to the Dominion. The debate inside the Iron Fist command room. Kara slammed her hands on the table. This is a trap, she said. If you refuse, they'll call you a coward. If you accept, they'll try to kill you before you even reach the arena. Holt just smiled faintly. They think a Deathworlder can't match a warrior from their strongest race. That's exactly why I'll go. The Arena of Fire. The duel was set on Verdras, the Dravik homeworld. The arena was a massive stone circle, surrounded by thousands of roaring spectators, warriors, nobles, and representatives from dozens of alien races. The air shimmered with heat from the lava flows running beneath the arena floor. Cordal entered first, wearing heavy battle armor and carrying a massive energy axe. His roar shook the stands. Holt entered next, wearing only light armor and carrying a shock blade in one hand, a short railgun in the other. The crowd laughed at the size difference. Holt was tall for a human, but Cordal towered over him, his muscles like steel cables. The fight begins. A deep gong rang out, and Cordal charged, swinging his axe in a deadly arc. Holt sidestepped, the blade missing by inches, and fired his railgun into the Dravik's leg armor. Sparks flew, but Cordal barely slowed. The warlord struck again and again, each blow powerful enough to shatter stone. But Holt didn't meet strength with strength. He met it with speed. He ducked, rolled, and struck at weak points in the armor, each hit leaving small but growing damage. The crowd's laughter faded as they realized the human wasn't running. He was wearing the giant down. The turning point. Cordal roared in frustration and lunged, grabbing Holt's arm. The human's railgun clattered to the floor. The warlord raised his axe for the killing blow, but Holt slammed his shock blade into the gap under Cordal's arm, where the armor was weakest. The weapon's electric charge surged through the Dravik's body, making him stumble. Holt ripped the blade free and drove it upward under the warlord's chin. Cordal fell to his knees, his weapon slipping from his hands. The crowd was silent as Holt stepped back, Breathing hard but standing tall. The broadcast heard everywhere. The duel had been transmitted across the galaxy. Billions watched as a human, from a so-called primitive death world, defeated one of the galaxy's most feared warriors in open combat. Holt's voice carried over the arena speakers. "You mocked us. You doubted us. Now you know, we are Deathworlders, and we bow to no one." He left the arena without looking back. The fear sets in the days that followed. The galaxy's opinion shifted again. Some alien leaders now saw humans as dangerous rivals. Others began secretly offering alliances, hoping to avoid conflict. In the Galactic Council chamber, Chancellor Varel listened to reports with growing unease. "They are becoming a symbol," an aide said. "Not just for themselves, for other species tired of the Council's power." Varel's eyes narrowed. "Then it's time we remind the galaxy who rules it. Prepare the fleets." Holt's warning back on Earth. Holt stood before the Iron Fist troops. "Today, they saw what one human can do," he said. "Next, they'll see what all of us can do. The storm is coming, and we will be the lightning." The soldiers roared in response. And far away, in the dark between the stars, war began to gather. The galaxy was not quiet anymore. Every news channel replayed the duel between Captain Aaron Holt and Warlord Korthal. Some commentators called it the greatest upset in modern history. Others called it a dangerous sign, proof that humans were more than the weak newcomers the galaxy had believed. But for the Galactic Council, it was something else entirely. It was a challenge to their control. The Council's secret meeting in the high spire of the Council Hall. Chancellor Varel met with the leaders of the strongest alien powers. The room was dark, lit only by the holographic map of the galaxy. On the map, human space glowed blue. Around it, red and yellow zones pulsed, rival powers ready to move. "They grow too fast," Varel said coldly. "Every victory makes them bolder. We must act before they gain more allies." The leader of the Dravak Dominion still looked bitter over Korthals' defeat. "The humans humiliated one of our greatest warriors," he growled. "Our people demand revenge." Varel gave a slow nod. "Then you shall have it. We will form a coalition, fleets from every willing race. We will strike them in one decisive blow. They will have no chance to recover." Back on Earth inside the Iron Fist headquarters, Holt stared at the same kind of map, but it showed something different. It marked colonies that had sent messages of support after the duel. Not just human colonies, alien worlds too. Lieutenant Caravance entered the briefing room. "Transmission from the Kalari Republic," she said. "They want to meet, in person." Holt raised an eyebrow. "The Kalari? They've always avoided taking sides." "They say they've had enough of the Council's bullying," Kara replied. "They're ready to talk about an alliance." The Kalari encounter Holt and a small team traveled to Torrens Reach, a neutral space station near the Kalari border. The Kalari were tall, slender beings with pale blue skin and large black eyes. They were famous for their diplomacy and for avoiding war at all costs. The meeting took place in a quiet conference chamber. Kalari Ambassador Sivrin stood with her hands clasped in front of her. "I watched your duel," she said softly. "I also watched what came after. You gave your people hope, and you gave the Council fear." Holt stayed silent, letting her continue. "The Kalari have suffered under the Council's trade taxes and military threats for decades." Sivrin said, "If you will stand against them, we will stand with you." Holt offered his hand. "Then let's make them regret underestimating us." Growing the alliance, the Kalari brought more than moral support. They brought intelligence networks, trade ships, and stealth technology that could hide entire fleets from long-range scanners. Word spread quickly. Other small powers, species, long oppressed by the Council, began sending messages to Earth. Some offered ships, some offered soldiers, some offered food and resources. Holt knew this was both a blessing and a danger. The more allies they had, the more the Council would see them as a real threat. The warning one evening, as Holt was reviewing fleet movements, Kara rushed in. "We intercepted a Council transmission. It's bad." She tapped a control, and a holographic image appeared. Chancellor Virel addressing the Coalition fleets. "Strike hard. Strike fast. Leave no Deathworlder standing." Holt's jaw tightened. "So it's war," he said, preparing for the storm in the weeks that followed. The Deathworlders trained harder than ever. New recruits arrived from across human space, along with alien volunteers who had heard the stories and wanted to fight. The Iron Fist barracks were alive with activity, the clang of weapons being tested, the rumble of tanks in training fields, the deep hum of battleships charging their engines. Holt walked through the hangar one evening, watching mechanics work on a Kalari-designed stealth frigate. Kara joined him, wiping grease from her hands. "They're scared, Aaron," she said quietly. "Our people, the recruits. Even the allies." "They should be," Holt replied. "Fear keeps you alert. But when the time comes, they'll remember why they're here." The spy, not all who came to help were true friends. One night, an alarm blared through the base. A Kalari ship in the Alliance fleet was caught sending encrypted data to an unknown source. Security dragged the pilot, a reptilian mercenary, into the command room. Holt stood over him. "Who are you working for?" The mercenary hissed. "You think you can stand against the galaxy? The Council will burn your worlds to ash." Holt didn't flinch. "Then they'll learn ashes don't scare Deathworlders." The spy was taken away. Security doubled. The Council moves first. It was dawn when the first attack came. A massive fleet emerged from hyperspace above the colony world. Helios Prime, one of humanity's richest trade hubs. The sky lit up with fire as the Council's ships began bombing the defense grid. Civilians ran for shelters. Fighters scrambled to launch. Holt's orders came through instantly. "All Iron Fist units, Helios Prime, we hold the line." The Battle of Helios Prime. Holt's fleet arrived in waves. The Kalari stealth frigates appeared first, decloaking behind the Council's formation and striking at their engines. Then the heavy human battleships dropped in, guns blazing. The battle was chaos. Flashes of light from railgun strikes, shockwaves from exploding cruisers, fighter squadrons weaving between the larger ships. Holt's flagship, Resolute, took a direct hit to the starboard shields, but he refused to pull back. "Target their command ship," he ordered. A volley of railgun fire ripped through the Council flagship's bridge. The enemy fleet wavered, then began retreating. Helios Prime was saved, but everyone knew it was only the beginning. The vow. That night, Holt stood before the surviving soldiers and the civilians of Helios Prime. The fires of the battle still burned in the distance. Alien allies stood shoulder to shoulder with human soldiers, their armor marked by the same scars. Holt's voice was steady, but there was steel in it. "They thought they could break us with fear. They thought they could crush us with numbers. They were wrong." He looked over the crowd. "From this day we vow we will not run, we will not bow. We will fight together until the last Deathworlder stands." The roar that followed shook the night. The gathering darkness in the Council chambers. Chancellor Virel watched the latest battle reports. Helios Prime had not fallen. Worse, the humans had gained more support from other worlds after the victory. Virel's face hardened. "Then we will send everything. Every fleet, every soldier. This ends in one battle." The final call back on Earth. Holt received intelligence from Kalari scouts. The Council's forces were gathering near the Rift of Sorrows, a vast region of space filled with unstable gravity wells and dangerous asteroid storms. It was the perfect place for an ambush or a final stand. Holt called his commanders. "This is it. If we win here, the galaxy changes forever. If we lose everything." The room was silent. Then Kara spoke. "Then let's make sure we win." The Deathworlders began their march to the rift. The galaxy watched. The stage was set. The vast expanse of the Rift of Sorrows was a dangerous place. Unstable gravity wells pulled at ships, while asteroids moved in slow, unpredictable orbits. Few dared to fight here, but this was where the fate of humanity and the galaxy would be decided. Captain Aaron Holt stood on the bridge of the Resolute, his flagship glowing dimly as the stars flickered outside. Beside him, Lieutenant Kara Vance monitored the fleet scanners. "We're surrounded," Kara said quietly. The Council's forces had arrived in full. Hundreds of ships formed a deadly circle, their weapons trained on the Deathworlders. Holt clenched his fists. "Good, let them come." The calm before the storm. Despite the tension, the Resolute's crew moved with practiced calm. Soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots ran final system checks. Engineers hummed as they prepared for battle. Holt gathered his commanders in the strategy room. "This is more than just a fight," he said. "It's a fight for our future." The Kaleri ambassador, Sivron, added, "The galaxy watches. If we win here, we gain respect. If we lose... we vanish." Holt nodded. "Then we fight like Deathworlders." First contact. Suddenly, the Council's flagship, the Dominion's Pride, fired the first volley. Blinding energy beams tore through space toward the Resolute. The Resolute's shields flared as the blasts hit. The battle had begun. Chaos in space. The Rift's asteroid field became a deadly maze. Small fighters darted between rocks, chasing each other in deadly dogfights. Human gunships, fast and agile, picked off Council fighters with railgun bursts. The Kalori stealth frigates used their cloaking technology to appear behind enemy lines, disabling weapon systems. Holt's fleet fought with determination, but the Council had more ships and firepower. Ground battle begins below, on the surface of the Rift's largest moon. Human and alien soldiers prepared for a different fight. The Council had landed thousands of troops, hoping to destroy the Iron Fist base. Sergeant Juno Ricks led his squad through narrow tunnels, setting traps for incoming forces. They moved silently, striking from the shadows, turning the tide. The battle in space reached a critical moment when Holt ordered the Resolute to dive toward the enemy fleet. "Prepare the shock pulse," Holt commanded. A massive energy wave burst from the Resolute, disabling enemy ship systems temporarily. The Deathworlders seized the chance, pressing their attack. Betrayal and sacrifice. But the Council had one last trick, one of the Allied ships turned its weapons on the Deathworlders. The Kalari pilot, Siren, shouted, "It's a trap. We've been betrayed." Kara and Holt acted quickly to contain the damage. Siren piloted her ship into the enemy's path, buying time but losing her life. Her sacrifice saved many. Final showdown. In the heart of the battle, Holt faced the Council's new warlord, General Zarn. The two clashed in a brutal fight aboard a destroyed cruiser. Zarn wielded a heavy energy mace. Holt moved fast, dodging strikes and hitting weak points with his shock blade. After a fierce duel, Holt struck a final blow, ending Zarn's threat. Victory and a new dawn with Zarn defeated and the Council fleet retreating. The Rift fell silent. The Deathworlders had won. Back on the Resolute, Holt addressed his troops. "This victory is not the end," he said. "It's the beginning of a new age. One where humans and our allies shape the galaxy's future." The galaxy watched as humanity rose from mockery to power. The Deathworlders' vow had been kept. The storm had passed, but its lightning would never be forgotten. End.